Ramblings of a Semi-Coherent Drunk. Rambling Man. If memory serves, I wrote the first Ramblings of a Semi-Coherent Drunk back in 2011. As I recall it, it was a title that I gave to an attempt at writing a stand-up comedy bit. It wouldn't be another 7 years before I actually tried the bit at an open mic, to the accolade of a lesbian who thought I was fucking hilarious. She let me crash in her hotel room. Funny story there. I'll have to write about it eventually. I'd been listening to a lot of George Carlin and loved the way his books were written. I was captivated by the style, the way he could go from one topic to the next while giving everything its due time. That really was the key to his comedy, the timing. When he was doing his stand-up, his delivery of a line could easily outshine the line itself and multiply its hilarity tenfold. What I appreciated the most was how he paid the same attention to how he actually wrote. Now, I could go off on the comedic genius of George Carlin, but that would be a boring rant and one that has been done by everyone and their dog, and their dog's dog. Nevertheless, I liked the style, and seeing as how I felt I was a mediocre poet, a piddly fiction writer, I was drawn to his narrative and point-driven rants. So I gave it a shot. From the ashes of a shitty ranting writer come the shitty rants of a writer. Such is life. It wasn't too long ago that I realized that I had a fairly large collection of these rants saved on my computer, and I figured I should probably do something with it. And that's what you're hearing now. At first I thought of maybe writing a book, making a collection of these, and while that idea is not entirely off the table, the simple fact remains that I don't think it would make a great book. I haven't tried to put it together or submit it anywhere, but if I'm unimpressed with the idea, I don't think anyone else would be either. We're all our worst critics, but at the end of the day, I'm just some dude complaining a lot. George at least had the strength of decades of being a successful comic to write on, which would at the very least give his books a much-needed sense of credibility that I do not have. Moreover, we live in the digital age where people get famous for playing video games on YouTube, so I'm at an even bigger disadvantage than just being some random dipshit. Everyone has something to say about something, and to me it seems that the only thing that most of them have in common is that they say it badly. It doesn't bode well if the standard of writing has become so sloppy and poorly edited that I can pick out writing errors in almost every article I read online. So here I am. What the hell am I listening to, I hear you wonder? What the hell is Ramblings of a Semi-Coherent Drunk? I'm not entirely sure how to answer that question. See, typically the tone in these essays is swayed from purely comedic observation to painfully deep introspection. It hits on all things as they pop into my head. It's not a memoir, but it does have a tendency to be allegorical in nature. It's not political, but I do have my leanings. I used to be a deep-dyed liberal, but over the last few years have drifted begrudgingly more conservative. I'm not a Republican, but I'd never call myself a Democrat either. I'm also not one of those vacant fools with the attitude of left-wing, right-wing, stingbird. This is usually the utterance of a person with very shallow thoughts. I try to observe and comment on the things that I see without getting too absorbed in the nonsense that it entails. I don't claim to speak for anyone, and I distrust most who do. I'm not well-traveled. I'm somewhat well-read. I'm a homebody, borderline alcoholic with a dark sense of humor. At 31 years old, I've gone through a life of hedonistic abandon and poor decision-making that has led to a lot of very interesting perspectives. Between that and the fact that I've been writing almost non-stop for the last 15 years, we got a lot of ground to cover. One essay could be about why we need Duke Nukem, and the next could be about the lessons we can take from the novel For Whom the Bell Tolls. I told you, total, tonal, shift. So why am I doing this? Well, for one thing, I've got this stuff written down. It's true, I get a cathartic joy out of putting my ideas down, but I suspect I could be doing more with it, which brings us to right now, the words you are hearing. I've always liked the title. For one thing, it's accurate. I've been writing since I learned how to read, and have had way too strong an affinity for the drink. Drinking for me has been at best a lubricant for chaos, and a totally destructive element at worst. There's a fine middle ground where I get creative and spew out stuff like this on paper. The world is a goofy place. Always has been, always will be. Sanity is wherever you place your stake in the universe, and no matter where you do, that tent is always going to blow around. Now, I'm not here to preach. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I'm here to tell you how I see things. It's not super original. It's not even all that profound, if it is at all. At the end of the day, I'm just a guy in Oregon who says things. But then again, everyone on YouTube is just a person saying things. So maybe this has some merit on that alone. If nothing else, Ramblings of a Semi-Coherent Drunk is supposed to be entertaining. An amusing trip through the shoes of somebody else either experiencing or thinking of something that has value. It may be nothing more than a shout out into the void. But what isn't? So here's hoping you enjoy Ramblings of a Semi-Coherent Drunk.